It's a rare devlog. Even rarer still, it is not being done on a profoundly windy, rainy day. In fact, it is very calm, very lovely, a bit overcast. I've got a nice view today. Lovely. Good chance to just sit down and sort of give a bit of an update on what's been going on. So work on the game continues. I've made some good progress, actually. I think the last time I talked was a few months ago, and it was when I just finished sorting out the tile placement things. As I mentioned then, and I mentioned in the blog that I posted on the subject, I realised at the time as well, midges are eating me, that wasn't really critical. It was a really fun coding challenge, and I learned loads doing it, but if I'm being totally honest, I was being distracted from actually developing the game and building the core systems and prototyping and seeing if my ideas are actually fun. So to that end, what I've been playing around with is just setting up some basic scene transitions. And then now I'm sort of playing around with ideas for the combat in the game. So I don't know how to approach combat, both from a dev and a design point of view. Please, midgets, go away. Both from a dev and a design point of view. Obviously, this game is inspired by games like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, and I've always found the combat in those games, in Stardew Valley specifically, to be incredibly lackluster. So I would like to build combat that's more engaging and more interesting, but then the other problem I have is that I want this game to be about, it's a magical allegory for environmental destruction and for rewilding previously damaged areas and rehabilitating animals that have been affected by environmental destruction, all through the lens of kind of corrupting magic and things like that. But if the message of this is supposed to be helping these animals, helping rebuild, helping rewild, it doesn't quite... There's dissonance there if your initial way of interacting with the animals is to clonk them over the head. Do you know what I mean? So I do think, from a design point of view, combat serves an important part of the gameplay loop. It's got that more sort of active engagement element, and it's combat as a vehicle for on-the-fly decision-making and strategic thinking. So it's always been prevalent in games. So how I can approach doing something like combat without making it primarily about clonking magically corrupted animals over the head when you just want to help them, that's a big challenge. I mean, it might end up just being something thematic. You essentially are clonking them over the head, but it's dispelling bad magic or something like that. But that is something to think about. And then, on the other hand, is what does the combat actually look like? Stardew Valley again, that has very basic combat. You go into an arena with enemies. The enemies have kind of AI behaviors that they navigate around the space in and attack you when you're in range. And you have a weapon that has different stats, and you just press the attack button to kind of hit them over and over again. I mean, I know there's a bit more to it than that, but that's the core of it. And I don't think I'm making a particularly controversial statement if I say that combat in Stardew Valley is very simple, deliberately so. I personally don't like it, but I can see why it was designed that way. So for me, I'm not convinced that is the way for me to go. I have no idea what the combat should look like, but I want to try a few different things out. I'm building a basic implementation like that, sort of dynamic press A to bash monster over the head. But I also thought it would be interesting to play around with kind of turn-based paradigms. more typical JRPGs, which anyone who knows me knows I'm not the biggest fan of JRPGs, but that in and of itself is fascinating to kind of study the design ethos of a genre you're not you don't have a big investment in personally, or alternatively turn-based like an XCOM style kind of top-down strategy thing. But yeah, I don't know which one of those will fit, if any of them will even work, so I'm actually just going to try and build prototypes to just try these things out and try and get them in front of some friends and get their feedback. The turn-based aspect definitely has a draw to me. I'm saying a lot. The turn-based combat has a draw for me. I like the idea of these games being very methodical, very gentle, very much about unwinding, escaping, peace. Peace is an important term. That's something I felt the first time playing Stardew Valley. I think there's no accident that I first played Stardew Valley when I was living in London a couple of years ago, and my heart was desperate to be somewhere other than the big city. And now I've done this. My own journey kind of mirrors the journey of the player in Stardew Valley. I do a lot of foraging as well, actually. There's lots of Alexanders on the side of the paths around here, which are good for cooking and eating. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's all good. It's all interesting. The big challenges I face at the moment, like I said, I'm building the kind of basic form of combat, the more real-time form of combat, and I'm trying to work out a good way of making it scalable. So I have this idea of using scriptable objects to define my different enemies and their stats, but then I want behaviors attached to them. So in the AI, which is basic state machine, it'll have one behavior to govern how it patrols a space. It'll have one behavior to govern how it chases you, one for attack, one for kind of resetting. And I'm trying to see if I can build it in a way that all of those functions exist within the scriptable object, but then you have to pass in all of the kind of operable objects. So it's not a mono behavior, so you don't have direct access to the transform or the game object or different components, a rigid body, thing like that. So you have to pass all of that into the function, which I guess is a fairly sort of functional paradigm for building these things, but it has proven a really interesting coding challenge to sort of where I keep second guessing myself, like this is either really smart or really stupid, and I'm not sure which. The other thing, which I'm here recording my video, is that I'm really struggling to kind of get back up on the horse of social media engagement, which is really important for a game, for any kind of creative project in the modern era. When I made Rus Vita years ago, I actually really got into doing the social media engagement, and by that I mean not just here's my video, here's my screenshot, boom, like I hope I get likes for it, engaging with other people, building relationships, starting the conversation, giving as much as you want to take. I did that a lot for Rus Vita, and I made some good progress with it, and I was picking up a good head of steam with it, and I'm really finding it difficult now to do it again. It's 5 years later. It feels like Twitter especially is the most inhospitable place for, like, unless you're already Twitter famous, it feels like nobody's gonna talk to you, nobody's gonna give you the time of day, which might just be my perception, but I do think there is some truth to that. The algorithms, especially on YouTube, are unforgiving. It really feels like even people who do follow me don't see anything that I post. Which, that all sounds like a bit of a squinny, and it is a bit, I suppose, but I'm just kind of laying out the issues that I'm facing at the moment. pathetically small issues in the grand scheme of things, definitely. Yeah. Anyway, this is it's been nice. I do always mean to do more of these. I've said previously I'm going to stop saying, I promise to do more of these going forward. You know, I live on Cornish time now. They happen when they happen. More of these will be with you directly. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching this. I know I've been complaining about how difficult I am finding it to engage in social media, but I know that there are people who are watching these, who are following what I'm doing, and it means the world to me that you do that, and I'm really, really, truly grateful for it. So to anyone who stopped by to watch this video, this quite long video now, thank you, and I hope to see you in more of them in the future. Anyway, we'll have one last look at that lovely, lovely view. Bye-bye.